Hello everybody. Just a few thoughts today. In this video, I'd like to tell you about a comment that I made. I made a comment on TLG 847's video, and I was kind of alluding to the fact that I was kind of trying to figure out what to do with my YouTube account. And all of you have been seconds away from clicking the delete account button. And I've been there many times. And Tom gave me an incentive to continue. He said something to the effect, "Frank, just take a deep breath and start talking." Thank you, Tom, for that word of wisdom. There are some things that I'd like to tell you about my military background. As all ex-military people are, they like to sometimes talk about their military experience. I guess it has to do if your experience was traumatic or not. And I must say that I was lucky enough to have a fairly serene military life. I spent all my time in an office, working in an office, and I was always told that the job that we were doing was just as important as any other job within the military. Although I questioned that because I knew of some people who were really putting it on the line, and I never did feel like I was in their category or could even walk in their circles. But I enjoyed the military. I was one of those people who, on my last assignment, people were taking bets that I'd re-enlist, but I didn't. I had like 5 months and 20-some days to go when I transferred from overseas. And at that time, you had to have at least 6 months retainability time to accept another assignment. So it was my choice. I was either going to come back to the States with a discharge or re-enlist and get a new duty assignment. And there were some things that I wanted to do at the time. The entertainment bug had bitten me, especially music. I worked part-time in the Armed Forces radio. That really wasn't my career field. But I enjoyed it so much that I donated my time in the evening working for the Armed Forces radio and television service. Subsequently, when I did come back to the States, I had my directions mapped out. And surprisingly, I had a civilian radio job waiting for me when I came back to the States. Now, radio might sound like I'm trying to think of a word. I'm wanting to say romantic, but not really. But anyway, it sounds like it would be just the perfect job. But it really wasn't. It was an enjoyable job. But if you worked in small market radio, or even medium market radio, if you were not in sales, your salary really wasn't that big. In fact, it was hardly anything compared with some industries. But it was easy to keep people in radio with low pay because of the working conditions. And like YouTube, we all have a tendency to enjoy some sort of limelight. and working in radio would give you that limelight. Especially when I worked in radio, because when I was in radio, there wasn't media on every corner. Now with cable television and all the FM stations, when I worked in radio, I worked in AM radio, and at that time, most of the radios, this is going to sound hard to believe for some of you people who haven't followed AM and FM radio, but back when I worked in AM radio, most of the radio stations that had FM stations, they only maintained those stations, those FM frequencies, to keep from losing them. And usually what they would do is they would have a bank of turntables stacked with long-playing albums that would play like 12 hours in a row. And of course, I think at the time the FCC required for you to at least give a station break on the hour. So the only attention that you had to give the FM frequency was the station break on the hour. But it was all AM radio, and at that time there was a radio station in Del Rio, Texas. The maximum amount of wattage that you could use in the United States was a 50,000 watt station. And some of you guys out there and ladies that are old enough to remember, in Del Rio, Texas, there was a 100,000 watt radio station, and I think the studio was in the United States. Now, I'm not completely sure about this, but the transmitter was across the border, and they could circumvent the 50,000 watt limit on an AM station. And I know most all the guys and gals that worked in radio at the time, if you worked a late night shift, when you got into your automobile, the first thing that you would do is dial that station in Del Rio, Texas. And of course, WLAC in Nashville was a station, a 50,000 watter that everybody listened to. And there was WLS Chicago. And I think there was a guy that worked for WLS, and his name was Dick Biondi. And at that time, he was the top 40 disc jockey in the nation. And I always listened to him when I wasn't working in radio. And another perk of radio, you only worked a 4-hour shift, so whatever your salary was, you figured that if it was $200 or $300 a week in a small market radio station, you were getting paid for only 4 hours. You worked 4 hours. Normally, the only other duties that you had is you would go in and do commercials for some of the salesmen, and there was no talent fee. I never did get any talent fee for doing commercials. I always enjoyed writing commercials for local concerns, and I enjoyed doing commercials. So I was always called on by the salesmen, and they would always request that I do their commercials because I always gave it all I could give it. But anyway, that's a part of my life. I went in the military when I was 17, and I had some terrible duty. I mean, I was stationed in West Palm Beach, Orlando. I mean, I really lucked out on duty. But anyway, in the next videos, as I can think of some of the things that I can share with you, I'll be sharing some thoughts about my military career. Well, this is going along too long, so I'm going to cut it short. Thank you very much for listening. We'll see you. And thanks, Tom, for giving me some encouragement. Bye-bye. We'll see you later. Bye.